Okay, I told you I was going to show you another method. Yesterday we did guess and check. Today we're going to do what's called the decomposition method or grouping method. Okay? And honestly, you don't need this method. If you are comfortable with what we did yesterday, you don't need to do this. I'm not going to ask you to specifically do this. My preference is you don't use this method. I'm going to say it's a fallback method when you just can't seem to guess and check. It's like you're stuck. Sadly, it does need practice, so it's hard to use it sort of just as a backup plan. So some of you are going to say, I'm struggling so much with the first part, I need a second way to do it, so then this is for you. Okay, but if you are okay for the first lesson, you won't need this. Okay, decomposition. I did give the steps back in the beginning of that lesson. So it is, the steps are here, okay? So I'm going to refer to those, but I'm not going to scroll back and forth. I'm just going to, I've kind of got it learned, and I'll sort of refer back to it. You can go back there if you need to. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to multiply A and C, and remember the sign. So A is 4, C is 2. So I'm just going to write 4 times 2, that's 8. Okay, and then you're also going to remember that B is negative 9. So I'm looking at that 8, okay, and I want two numbers now that have the product, have this number 8. They multiply to 8, not 2, they multiply to 8, and they add up to negative 9. So let's take a look at 8. I want two numbers that if I multiply them are 8. 1 times 8, well, what about negative 1, negative that? 8. That adds up to negative 9. So these are the two numbers that I want. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite negative 9x using those two numbers. Okay, so watch this. So 4x squared, and instead of negative 9x, I'm going to write negative 1x and negative 8x. Okay, that's what decomposition means. I'm taking it apart. Okay, so that's your first step, the first part of decomposition. Okay, and then it's also called grouping because now we're going to group the first two and the second two. And we're going to take out what's called the greatest common factor. What is the greatest common factor from the first two terms? Do you see how there's only an x that I could take out? And if I divide by x, I'm going to be left with 4x minus 1. Okay, and now let's go to the second group. Is there a factor in 8 and 2? Well, hopefully you can see it's a 2. Now I want to highlight this negative sign in between there. That must follow its way down here. So I'm not taking out a 2, I'm going to take a negative 2 out. If I divide this by negative 2, I get 4x. And if I divide 2 by negative 2, I get negative 1. Okay, don't worry if that was a little foggy, but let's just keep going. Is there anything in common here and here? Hopefully you see that I can take out a 4x minus 1 from both terms, and I'm left with x minus 2. That's factored. You can check, but it is. Okay, let's try this next one. Remember what we do. You're going to go 2 times 12, so that's a times c. This is 24. And what I want to do is come up with two factors of 24 that add up to negative 11. Okay? So, what do you think? 1 and 24. Well, if they add up to a negative number, they're going to both be negative. Well, that doesn't add up to negative 11. How about negative 2 and negative 12? No. How about negative 3 and negative 8? There you go. So rewrite it. 2x squared minus 3x minus 8x plus 12. Okay, so what I did is I split up that negative 11. I decomposed it using those first few steps. Okay, now I'm going to group. first group and the second group. What's a common factor in the first group? X. If I take out an x, I'm left with 2x minus 3. What's common in the second one? Notice I brought the negative down. A 4. If I take that out of both, you get 2x minus 3. Okay? By the way, if you don't see anything in common here, it can't be factored. Or you've made a mistake. What do you see that's in common? 2x minus 3. And what's left? X minus 4. Okay? You guys try the next one. Your first step is to say 12 times negative 15. That's negative 180. And I want two numbers that multiply to negative 180 and add up to 8. So I want it to add up to 8x. Well, can you see that's going to be 18 and 10? 10 is negative. Okay, so I'm going to write it as 12x squared plus 18x minus 10x minus 15. Okay, group. 6x is in common. I get 2x plus 3. In the second group, what's in common? Negative 5, and I get 2x plus 3. So, factoring, I get 2x plus 3, 6x minus 5. All right, so that's grouping method. Now, again, I want to emphasize to you that if you think you know how to do it the other way, and I really hope that that's the method you're going to focus on, don't worry about grouping method. You don't ever have to look at it again. Okay? If you think this is something you want to learn or something that you're going to need to learn, okay, then you can, exercise 6 is continued. You can do some of those, some of the ones you haven't done yet. Or, I mean, you could do the same ones over again, right? Practicing factoring, you don't need new questions all the time. You can do the same ones over and over again. Okay, so that is the homework for today.